Hey folks, Sean here, and in this episode, what I want to talk to you about is avoiding the consumer trap. Now, when I'm talking about building SaaS businesses, what I'm talking about is B2B, which is why I combine the two. Building B2B SaaS businesses, and the key part of that is the B2B element, as in business to business. You're building a proper business and you're selling to proper businesses. This makes a big difference when it comes to the success, the trajectory, figuring out the problems we're solving, the features you want to build. All of those elements become more straightforward, in my opinion, if you're building for businesses and not consumers. However, these days, with the capabilities of AI and how quickly and easily you can produce something much more capable than we used to be able to in a previous generation of the tools we had access to, it can become a little bit enticing, or more so, to also go after a consumer crowd. I'll give you an example. So I'm building tools for B2B podcasters, and really that's podcasting agencies, not just people who have their own podcast, which might be about whatever, cooking, sports, something like that. That's more of a hobby. It's probably not a revenue stream for them. It's probably not affiliated with a business, at least not yet. If that's the case, I don't really want them to be part of my target market. I want the agencies that are helping people build and set up podcasts, but doing so for business, like one that I have as well called Podcast Chef. And the reason why I want that is because those businesses have clear long-term goals. They have revenue stream, they have budget set aside for ensuring that they can solve certain problems. And the more effective and efficiently they can solve those problems, the more successful, the more potentially profitable their business can become. I can work around that set of parameters because those are consistent, usually from business to business. However, when you fall into the consumer crowd, it's like herding cats. There are things to chase. There are an unlimited number of things you can chase and places to get stuck because consumers, everything in their lives, there's so many variables that they're managing. There's so many combinations as well too, that it can be much harder to detect the patterns because there's just that many different types of consumers. Businesses, on the other hand, are a little bit more stable in that way, which makes things quite a bit easier for you as a potential B2B SaaS builder to solve their problems. So this is why I want you to ensure that you are consistently focusing on building for businesses as opposed to consumers, and to be careful not to fall into the consumer trap because it's easy to do. I should say it's easier to do now that AI is so capable and will enable you potentially to solve their problems too. Now, if consumers are purchasing your product and it's built for businesses, that's okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you are beginning to update and influence your product roadmap in the direction of consumers as opposed to businesses. That's going to be a challenge and create problems for you in the future. So make sure you are building around businesses, especially if you are looking to be successful in the B2B SaaS world. And I think it's a lot easier to succeed when you're building for businesses as opposed to when you're building for consumers. But don't let yourself get caught into what I consider to be the consumer trap because that can mess up your roadmap and jeopardize the long-term success for your SaaS business.